Right, call to order the open session of Mountain View Los Altos High School Board for Monday, March 18th, 2024. Welcome, everybody. If we can please rise and join us for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, so first we have roll call. Let the record show that Theta, Catherine, Bill, and myself are present, as well as our student board trustees, Sadie and Christoph. And then our board president, Sanjay Dave, is absent today. He's not on the call. All righty, so first we need to approve our agenda.
I move that we approve the agenda.
I second, sir.
Moved by Catherine, seconded by Phil, that we approve the agenda. Student board members, how do you vote?
I approve.
And Sadie?
I approve.
Thank you. All board members in favor, please say
Aye.
Thank you. Motion carries 4-0 with 1 absence. There was no action taken during closed session, so there's nothing to report, which takes us to board member reports. Yes,
I have a couple things. One is that I went to the suicide prevention walk on the field here in Mountain View the other day. It was sad. Well, the uplifting part is the prevention part. The speaker, Katie's parents, the young lady that died by suicide, they spoke, and other people spoke, and many groups that support people after a situation of suicide in a family, and then others in prevention. Many mental health groups were there, most of which I knew about, but there's a couple I've never actually heard of. So it was enlightening in that regard for me too. And it was very well attended by a lot of people, and the magical sang, and it was very heartwarming, their singing and so on. Also, there was an event by a new group, I can't remember their college. Brief. Yeah, no, I just want to say I went, but Dr. Meyer and Thea were on part of the committee, so they were there too also, and I'll tell you a little more about that. But it's so heartwarming that two of our students, Gil and Tomo, started it, so that's really pretty cool. So Peter will tell you about that one, and other than that.
Okay. Los Santos High School graduates Tamiko Chen and Gil Rubenstein gave a presentation about College Brief, journalism for and by college students that you can read in under 2 minutes. As mentioned, we had also Layla Benson was there, and parents and friends of MVLA to support their mission of taking college students out of social media consumption and back to trusted journalism. I'm so proud of Tamiko and Gil. They embody excellence, equity, engagement on our graduate profile.
I have one. So in addition to some of these events, we also had a presentation by the Substance Use Prevention Policy Team from the Santa Clara County Public Health Department at the Challenge Team meeting this past week. And they spoke about the dangers of intoxicating hemp products and their easy access to youth. And it was a very informative presentation that really highlighted some of the loopholes in the federal law, and really how intoxicating hemp products are just a new popular type of cannabis product that you can purchase at local smoke shops, online, via social media, without identification. And some of these products are often sold as edibles that appear child-friendly and are very much marketed for youth. And so, one of the things I think was really important was they named how these products are actually available in our local smoke shops in Mountain View and possibly Los Altos. And so this team is available to provide other community education on these issues, including workshops and presentations. And so I hope as a district, we can leverage some of what that team is doing to increase awareness around this, because it was a really important and informative presentation. So just wanted to share.
I just wanted to add that currently there's no regulation around intoxicating products because it's considered hemp. So it doesn't have the same rules as cannabis. But actually it can be 50 times more TBD than cannabis.
And the Challenge Team website will have the presentation, the slide deck of it posted on the Challenge Team website by the end of the week from last week's presentation.
Thank you. Okay, we are now let's move into student board member report. Sadie, do you want to go first?
Okay, thank you. This week, the campus is blooming with colors for Clash of the Classes. Today, students dressed in all black and participated in a Family Feud, aptly renamed Eagle Feud, game with their classmates to win points for their grade. Every day, there will be a dress-up theme and a lunch activity, and on Friday, the class winner will be crowned at our Clash of Classes night rally. SCL, our Student Community Leadership class, finished their Relay for Life fundraiser on March 15th for the American Cancer Society, raising over $5,000 in support of those in need. Students are excited for 2 minimum days this week, tomorrow and Wednesday, as they finish up the third quarter. Next week, we will have Monday off and a modified schedule Tuesday through Friday to accommodate CASP testing for our juniors and seniors. Last week, LHS hosted our 39th annual Writers Week. Since 1985, Writers Week has brought professional writers to our English classes to speak about their individual works as well as their life and craft. This year, over 40 writers in both prose and poetry and journalism came for 2 different writing programs from Stanford University to speak with our students. On Wednesday, as part of Writers Week, LHS hosted a Porchlight storytelling series called One Giant Leap. Both professional writers and students alike presented their work in the theater. Looking forward, ASB is continuing to plan our annual Diversity Week, which will take place the week of April 15th, and will celebrate the gender, career, political, and cultural diversity of our campus.
Sadie, any questions? This time?
The opening night of our high school musical showcased our students' exceptional talent, which was a huge success with performances spanning multiple nights. Mental Health Awareness Week was last week, which was put on by ambassadors and featured helpful events throughout the week. Some examples are the Unity Walk and the Student Mental Health Panel. 2 weeks ago, our special education program hosted a successful Special Olympics basketball tournament. They also just put on the St. Patrick's Day dance, which had a great attendance from other programs of other schools, as well as many general ed students joining in. Our spring sports teams had promising performances, with track and field winning their last meet against Homestead and girls softball winning their game on Friday against Wilcox. MVHS had a special schedule this week with staff development on Tuesday and Wednesday. Stop moving the dog. And a rally scheduled this Friday. The rally commemorates the arrival of the Iwata delegation from Japan. Every other year, MVHS hosts students from our sister school in Iwata, Japan, as they join host students in daily lives at MVHS. Looking to the future, the end of the school year is almost upon us, and classes are starting to wrap up as their content to prepare for AP tests and finals.
Thank you. Any questions?
I want to know what you thought, Sadie, was the highlight of the Writers Week.
Well, I had a really, really interesting writer. Her first name was Jen, but she was wanting to talk to us like a person, so we wouldn't respond to her by her last name. But she was a writer from the Bay Area. She went to Irvine, and she was basically talking about how she didn't think about writing as a career until later in life, and how she saw how it benefited her in so many different aspects. And I just thought that was so cool, because not all of us are going to be going into the profession that she's going into, but all of the values and the lessons and kind of her craft, her process is so important, and it's so ubiquitous no matter what field you go into. So I guess it was really cool to hear her perspective, be able to relate to that, and see how it can really affect kind of all of us no matter what path we choose to take.
Thank you for your perspective.
Thank you both. I think that takes us to Students of the Month.
Yes, and I believe we have a representative that will start us off with sharing the Student of the Month year from the Middle College Agency cohort. Do we have someone to introduce? Oh, great. Welcome. Well, good evening, board. Good evening, staff. I'm here on behalf of Middle College Agency cohort. We are happy to present Carson Gamble as our Student of the Year for the Middle College Agency cohort. Carson was accepted to Middle College during his junior year after having spent his first 2 years at Los Altos High School. Carson has become an amazing addition to our classes, the Middle College program, and the larger community. In classroom discussions and group projects, Carson is known to be very thoughtful and engaging. He often assumes the role of a leader, and he ensures that his peers are participating and that everyone's voice is heard. For example, in our most recent budget project for economics, Carson noticed that one group member struggled with a difficult part of the project, and he offered to help. Carson not only guided his classmates through the project and offered tips on how to improve the elaborate spreadsheet, but he demonstrated patience and kindness throughout the entire interaction. This example serves as one of many, as Carson is known in our community to be very valuable, a valuable group member, classmate, and friend. Additionally, Carson always has a positive attitude and a smile on his face. He brings a lot of joy and enthusiasm to both of our classes, and we are very appreciative of his character. In addition to his engagement in class, Carson also dedicates many hours outside of school to various extracurricular activities. Many of those hours are focused on his love for soccer, and Carson is the captain of the Los Altos team, and he is the starting goalkeeper. He also plays on the Premier Club team, and he plans to continue playing soccer in college. When he's not on the field or in class or studying, Carson can also be found at Phil's Coffee, where he is a master barista. Carson plans to attend LeTourneau University in Texas to pursue a history degree and his single subject credential. His goal is to one day become a university history professor. We are very proud of his growth and his successes, and we are excited to hear more about his future achievements.
Congratulations, Carson. You can step up to the podium. Some of our board members might have some questions or comments.
Can I go first? Carson, you have some really excellent personal qualities in addition to a keen mind and a lot of academic achievement. So my first question is, those interpersonal skills that make you kind and accepting of people, and willing to guide them and make them willing to be guided. How did you develop those? Was that something that started very early in your childhood?
Growing up, my parents were always, my parents both worked in law enforcement, so I kind of wanted to carry on their values of trying to bring good. And so I figured growing up that the more I could be nice to people and the more I could help people out, the better other people's lives could be. And so I find a lot of joy in helping out other people, and that's kind of what guided me into wanting to become a professor. I want to keep teaching and keep helping people get their goals in life.
That's a great answer.
Thank you.
And I wish we could spread that around.
Thank you.
I have a question.
Yes.
Being on the soccer team back at your original school,
Right.
how do you feel integrating with them on a sports basis all the time in addition to being at middle college? That's pretty seamless, or how does that work?
My first years at Los Altos, one of my biggest struggles was trying to make connections with people. And my end of my sophomore year, I took psychology, and I sat next to a junior who told me like I should come out and play next year. And I didn't really give it that much thought because honestly, we weren't very good in my sophomore year. So I figured, no, maybe next year. And then week before tryouts, I realized I needed PE credits. And so I was like, and so I realized maybe I should go try out. And so I didn't really know that many people going into it, but first day of tryouts, I got there and I recognized a lot of people I know, not just from, seeing them around campus and stuff, but I play against them in club competition outside of school. And in my junior year, we weren't as bad as we were sophomore year. And I made some of my closest friends, some of my only friends at Los Altos. And going into my senior year, a lot of those friends, most of them graduated the year before, but I still had some of my friends from the junior year. So being able to carry over those relationships from my junior year and my senior year really helped me a lot. And I think soccer was the perfect extracurricular to help make more connections and get myself out there more.
Great.
So I love hearing about your characteristics, particularly kindness. We need more kindness in the world. The graduate profile doesn't mention kindness, but I think it's implied. But I have a different question for you. When did you learn to love history? And do you have a favorite historical period?
Okay. So growing up, like I said, my parents, they were both in law enforcement. My mom was a firefighter and my dad was a police officer. So they would be busy a lot. So my entire family lives in Mountain View, from my parents all the way up to my grandparents, great uncles, aunts. And so I would go to my grandpa's house with my grandma every day after school. And my grandpa's a super smart guy, mechanical engineer, built radar. and he was super into history. And so when a grandpa doesn't really know how to take care of his grandson, what he does is he takes him to his couch and sits him down and watches history documentaries for about 4 hours until his parents come and pick him up. And so that kind of, from a young age, I would sit down after school for like 4 hours a day and watch this like history documentaries, like old World War II movies. And so that was kind of put in my mind from a young age. And going through elementary school, middle school, history was probably the only subject I could stay focused in, because something about learning about the past and how it can affect the future just really sparked in me. And going into middle school, I had a few really cool history teachers, and they're like, that kind of put the idea in my mind, hey, maybe I do want to teach. And then got into high school, that kind of went on my mind for a little bit because I was put into a new environment, 2020 with COVID and a lot of stress going on. And so then I came to middle college, and then what I originally thought I wanted to do was kinesiology. I took a kinesiology class at Foothill, and I absolutely hated it. And so I was like, maybe this isn't for me. So I looked back into my love for history, and I started taking all the history courses I could at Foothill, and going into different time periods and different eras and different parts of the world just really got my mind going. And I figured out like, yeah, this is definitely what I want to do. And for any kind of modern history, so pretty much 1700 forward, I absolutely love. 1900 forward is probably what I remember the most in, but you can pick my brain on a lot of stuff, and I'll gladly have a conversation about it.
Well, we're really excited to honor you, Carson, and I think you'll be a very charismatic history teacher who will keep
Thank you
the
very much.
students, awake. Do you have any family or friends with you tonight?
My mom and dad are eating dinner and watching at home.
Okay,
So,
great.
That's all.
Well,
I
we'd
know.
love to, or yeah, your teachers, anyone else, we'd love to take a picture with you and
Okay.
celebrate you.
Our second student of the year from middle college, we welcome up Amy Gilson, and I believe she will have, two people introducing. Welcome.
Just morals.
Okay, always welcome.
So this is Amy, and G and I are both individually in agreement that Amy stands out as probably one of the most intellectually curious and engaged students that either of us have had respectively in our careers. G's 20 years and my 10. Amy shows genuine interest in the mysteries of our world and human experience, and she really values the opportunity to learn from other people. In and outside of class, we know that we can count on her curiosity and original thinking and her genuine participation. And we're really thankful for the way that Amy's engagement usually provides the impetus for other students to participate and engage as well. At middle college, Amy has been able to feed her love of learning through Foothill's really diverse offerings, including topics like physical education, Spanish, psychology, computer science, astronomy, and creative writing. She has even taken extended opportunities to explore her interests outside of the classroom, like when she participated in Foothill's annual Business Innovation Challenge last year. Amy has had a lot of academic successes, but she does not feed a climate of academic stress or anxiety, which we always appreciate. She seeks out challenges for herself without being competitive. She knows how to be independent, but is not individualistic. She is just as comfortable asking questions as she is sharing insights, and she can advocate for herself, but she can also be humble, flexible, and patient. She aims to do her best, but doesn't fixate on grades. Amy is exceptionally deliberate, reflective, and conscientious about her impact. She even once wrote to us that when I think about what I value most, I always come back to people. Time and moves me. Time and again, Amy chooses to be warm, welcoming, and collaborative. Her peers, experiencing her genuine regard for them, deeply respect, trust, and delight in her. And Amy has been a crucial leader and strong ambassador for our program, enhancing our experiences and inviting us to invest in our shared community. We will really miss her a lot next year, and we are just really happy to have this opportunity to celebrate her as our Student of the Month and year.
Okay, step up to the podium. Some of our board members might have some comments and questions for you.
I wanted to know what you did for your business innovation.
So I made so for the Business Innovation Challenge, I worked with another person to create a prototype for a browser extension that while you're shopping online, it will look kind of at the things you're shopping at and make a kind of an ethical score. And so that it's a lot easier for you to be able to understand where you're shopping, how to shop ethically, and you can kind of see the breakdown of that, or just, use that overall score to make your decisions. And then there also would also give you similar options with more ethical scores, and so that you can continue to shop more ethically in the future.
Really cool.
Thank you.
So I was struck by the comment that you have many academic successes, but you do not feed a climate of academic stress or anxiety, that you seek out challenges without being competitive. And I think part of being a mature adult is being able to hold sort of two things that seem opposite, which you do. So I guess what would you, but yet we have a crisis of mental health, and part of that is fed by academic stress and anxiety. So what would you say to us as a board, or to parents or other students, about how you manage to, I guess, rise above that and work for people, as your teacher said, and also for knowledge?
I think that it's really important to remember that no matter what you're feeling and what your intentions are, you're going to be impacting other people. So I know a lot of people at my home high school, they're really influenced by other people and what they say, even if they try to not be influenced by it. So I would say to parents that I know that when you are trying to push your students to success, it is for, you're trying to do it for them, to benefit them, but oftentimes it leads to a lot of anxiety, depression, stress, and ends up doing more harm than good. And oftentimes it's important to let your student, your child, kind of make their own path and their own journey, and they'll eventually be able to find something that they love and they enjoy that is going to be ultimately better for their mental health and happiness. I would say to students that I know this is a very competitive environment, especially in this district, but to be careful about what you say and how you share your own, feelings of insecurities and pressures, because oftentimes it ends up feeding into that environment. And so even if you're upset about a grade, or you're happy about, a grade, or you're trying to do get into a college or something, making sure that when you share that, you're not making it sound like a comparison, or that somebody who did worse than you is bad. I think that a lot of times people end up feeling a lot worse about themselves because of other people trying to express their own insecurities or their own happiness, and that's something that we need to be very aware of as well.
fun. Do you have family?
Yeah, my parents and my sister are here.
Great. Thank you. Alrighty, next we're on to the superintendent's report.
All right, thank you. First of all, the students of the year were so wonderful and I love the questions, so thank you. Here you can see a picture of our joint gymnastics team in the gym at Los Altos, and just put this up here because it seems like it's growing. And I love that this is a team where they work together, where both of our campuses work together. Speaking of that collaboration, wanted to also share some of the highlights of things that have been going on around all of our campuses. As I was creating this, about 5 more things popped in, so it's very hard to keep up this time of year, but it's a pleasure to try and do so. So here you can see the TEDx at Los Altos. You can see a student speaking, an expert who came to speak to the students, and then also the team that put it together here in the middle. And they really do represent excellence, equity, and engagement. And then I also wanted to share, this is a picture of our student advisory meeting. We had the meeting last week. And in addition to preparing for the presentation where the advisory team will share with the board their priorities and suggestions for actions that will improve our district, we invited the MVLA Foundation, and they came to the meeting, and they shared the projects that they fund, and they wanted to get student feedback on what was valued and important to them and how it was working. And so then they subsequently shared that same evening the results of what the students said, and they're putting this into their report as they make decisions on how they will spend their resources. So the student advisory is definitely having an impact on how we will allocate some of the foundation funding. A surprise from that, I was surprised how popular the SAT and the PSAT were embedded within the day, and there was actually a request for ACT. So there definitely was an interest in not traveling long distances to have to take some of these tests. Wanted to also, and Ms. Gilson, who is the mother of one of our students of the year, she left, but she, along with others, put together, and our AVID teachers and our AVID team put together mock interviews last week, and they were held at Alta Vista, and students really came prepared, dressed. They had an opportunity to share their resumes and to talk to different organizations about what they might need in order to work there. And so here on the left, we have YMCA, And so they've been great partners of ours. And so they are speaking to students who are waiting in line. And then on the right, you can see our SROs and a community liaison with Mountain View PD speaking to students as well. We had real estate, we had legal counsel, we had Google and other tech firms. And so the entire campus had different classrooms that were filled with students and the teachers who were helping, and also our avid community volunteer partners as well. And Lynette organized the whole thing and put it together. So it seems to be a family trait of supporting MVLA. Wanted to also share in the last 2 weeks since our last meeting, we had a dual enrollment summit. And this is a partnership that, in addition to Middle College, we have with Foothill, where different classes are given dual enrollment, high school credit, and community college credit, college credit. And as a part of the work that we have done with our career technical education classes, we have grown dual enrollment courses from 2 to 11, and these are on the comprehensive campuses. And so this gives students an opportunity, if they want to go a different route other than the advanced placement test, they can take these courses within a career pathway and receive that dual credit. So here we had our teams from Mountain View High and Los Altos High, along with Amber Woodward, presenting to many different districts from around the region, sharing their best practices and really giving tips on how they have been able to expand the program. And just a shout out also to our team. We had Terry Fott, we had Kip Glazier, and we had Tracy Ranieri. We were all in the audience cheering them on. I think we were the only group that had all of the principals and team like that. I just took a little role. Constructing meaning. Some of the things that we've been doing during our professional development days, and I've spoken about this before, include the training in constructing meaning. And we've had 3 cohorts now where different groups of teachers and counselors and other support staff have come to receive this training. And just real briefly, it helps bridge the gap between academic language and student knowledge. It also helps students access the understanding to the course content and learn at standard level information with different teaching practices. And it also explicitly teaches language, the vocabulary, et cetera, so they can access that content instruction. And then lastly, it promotes engagement and the mastery of the grade level standards. So this training is assisting teachers who are including a variety of levels within their classrooms and helping the students who have the ability, but perhaps not the language level quite yet, to access that important academic content. So thank you to Terry Fott and IS to put constructing meaning together, the different cohorts, and there's definitely more to come in this area. And on the same note, while on the same day, actually, Alta Vista held a career fair for all of their students on the campus. So while all of the people were there for the afternoon Avid career fair, during the day, we took advantage of them as well. And they reported that they had an enjoyable long day where the students from Alta Vista were able to talk to them about career opportunities within their fields, within their companies as well. So the same companies were there, and because the group was a little bit smaller, they had an even larger opportunity to have more one-on-one conversations. And so thank you to Suzanne and her team for really making sure this was a robust event. And these great photos you can see. Speaking of other things going on at Alta Vista, I can share we now have a larger cohort of our eye care CTE pathway. So for those of us who were at the end of the year graduation ceremony, so many of the student speakers spoke about how they were going into that field and they already had jobs lined up. So I know many of you were there. And here on the right, it's at an angle, but you can see the group that has been working in the eye care field. And then on the left, they not only are practicing, as you can see on the right, within the offices, but at the campuses as well. They are having classes where they're receiving instruction in this area. And I also see another student advisory member from Alta Vista there in the front row on the right. And I've really seen it lift up the students of Alta Vista as they can see something directly benefiting them that will immediately help them be able to support themselves. And many have spoken about using this as a bridge to furthering their education in the healthcare field. So we're excited about that. And Sadie did such a good job about talking about Writers Week. So I've just brought the visuals. On the left, you can see the one giant step or leap, excuse me, that she spoke about that was in the Eagle Theater, where stories of risks, rewards, and repercussions were told live on stage. And 39 years ago, I guess it was in 1985, they started this at Los Altos High School, and the writers were able to share their process with the students and also their journey, which was not always a straight path. And I just picked three that I'm particularly fond of. Jose Antonio Vargas, a Mountain View High School alum, Pulitzer Prize winner, who has a new book out this year. So we'll look forward to seeing more from him. He's also developed an organization where he supports immigrants and recent immigrants within the community, and that's really what he's done through his ability to write and sell his books. He has now put that investment back into the community. Then in the middle here, we have Charlie Jane Anders. And Charlie has written on a variety of topics, for the most part, science fiction, fantasy. But Charlie has also brought up the voice of a transgender adult who writes with many different characters that represent many different points of view. And then lastly here, Matt Abrahams. He is a Stanford professor who writes business books and writes about how to manage your time, how to speak off the cuff. That's his latest book. I might get that one. And he really, you could see just the variety with these three, but there were 40, and they did such a good job of finding just so many different voices. So congratulations to the team at Los Altos High. Also wanted to share Team 114. That number, I know you know this, is so significant because I think they're like 10,000 now, and they did them in order. So 114 was an early adopter. And so Los Altos, who also has a healthy collaboration, and I don't know if it's a healthy rivalry. I think it's a healthy collaboration with Mountain View High. And I don't know the number, Kip. I think it's in the 200. We'll have to look that up. The robotics. 971. See what I'm talking about? Also an early adopter, but not 114. Sorry. But Los Altos is really excited because they are going to Houston, and this just came up. They just won the award, and just really wonderful work that they received an award in the San Francisco Regional, and you can see their happy faces with their awards as they go further and further. And in that same vein, on the right, to start out with Rafael Oliphant, Rafi, he coached, not only does he coach water polo, but he coaches the data science competition. And as a math teacher, he is coaching this group, and they were selected as top 25 in the nation in data science. And so I'm not sure if he's taking a trip, but I believe he may. But you can see here. Now, I had one question about that picture. I think there might be a couple girls that were not able to be there that day. But I teased because I know that they're working very hard at finding that gender balance within our math programs, and have continued to do a good job at doing that. And this is a new class, so I think there's an opportunity to really expand. And then on the left, we have they had Special Olympics for our students with disabilities at Mountain View High School. So in addition to the dance that Christoph mentioned that they had recently, you can see also they had sporting events on the campus. And this was just you can just see a little slice of what they were doing, but just hours of different stations and activities and physical engagement. So we're happy to see that and look forward to seeing even more. And then, as mentioned by Ms. Vonnegut, we had the Unity Walk at Mountain View High School, which works on suicide prevention. There were important guest speakers, parents who'd lost loved ones as the keynote, and other students who came together via our wellness department with William Blair, our ambassadors with Lauren Camarillo and her students, and others who participated. So a student-run, student-led event last Friday night, and the third year in a row of having this event. So thank you to those who participated and attended. And then Project Cornerstone last Friday in Santa Clara at their convention center. We had Project Cornerstone has an annual breakfast. And so you can see our team was there. I think there were 3 tables that had Mountain View High School people there. And so we were very well represented. One of the award winners is there in the middle in the top left, and it's Ali Oshiari. She is a volunteer extraordinaire who was responsible for last year's Turkey Trot, which is a giant production, but she volunteers in many different ways across our district and the community. So she was nominated by this county-wide organization, the YMCA Project Cornerstone, and she was honored on the stage last Friday morning. And we invited not only our principals who were there bright and early in the morning, but also our athletic directors, and you can see our board members are there as well, because there was a special guest, someone named Steve Young. I hear he plays football, and he was there along with our madrigals, who you can see got the bigger picture in my book. And so we really enjoyed the opportunity to listen to Steve Young talk about truth and accountability and responsibility. And he mentioned that the truest truth is there for those who are willing to take accountability for their actions. And then in the bottom right, we have one of our madrigals, and we have Ms. Jill Denny, who was there bright and early welcoming the madrigals in and setting everything up. And they were first on the docket for singing, and then they did get straight to class. So you can see a lot of fun was had. And then as I wrap this up, we've been talking about this quite a bit, but on March 27th, we will have the final guest speaker or speaker series, Speaker of the Year. And it's why college admission is rigged and how to beat the system. And so we look forward to hearing from Susan Paterno, and that will be held, I believe, at the Spartan Theater, as if I can see correctly. So that will be going on next week at 7 p.m. And then finally, just one more picture of our students who are listening intently to the adults who are there as mentors and guides in career planning. And that concludes my superintendent's report. Thank you.
You can tell it's spring.
Yeah.
It is busy. Does anyone have any questions?
One quick question for clarification. I think I already know the answer to this, but for the dual enrollment classes held on our campus, they are all taught by certificated MVLA employees.
Correct.
I just had a question about the data science class, because I don't think it was mentioned in the math presentation. Could you just talk a little bit more about it?
Yes, we're actually many people around the state have created a course for high schoolers on data science, and it's an alternative to some of the other pathways. Calculus comes to mind, and it is more along the lines of having practical uses for the data and using mathematics to achieve that. And I believe, and I'm looking to Terry, is that this going to start next semester?
Next school year.
Next school year. So this is really an exciting course, and there will be real world applications, so you can see how this would fit into different career pathways. And I believe we'll have more information to share with the board about this particular class in the future, but it has been approved for next year. And it will count as a math credit.
I'm really excited. I'm so excited we're having CTE math classes.
Right, and this actually expands beyond that.
Next, we have communication. Anyone from? Okay. We'll move on to public comment, and this is to address any items that are on the agenda. We have Jane Chen.
Hi, my name is Jane Chen. I'm a pediatrician, mother of three, two of my children are at Mountain View High School. And today I'm going to be making a comment about English language learners. So I brought here the 24-25 course catalog for Mountain View High School and Los Altos High School. And reading through this, I had a concern, which was also brought up at our Family Partnership Committee meeting, which was that there, as a group, we thought and we agreed with this, what Dr. Vila said, which is that there, for English language learners, we should provide classes that are supportive with English language learner support in the class. But the discrepancy I see is that Mountain View High School Integrated Science, which is CC 1100, is a class designed for English language learners and introduces fundamental topics in physics, chemistry, and biology. So I'm reading the class description. Teachers focus on both science and English content to ensure that students are ready to further science courses. So it's like a pre-science class. And so my concern is that there isn't the equivalent for English language learners at Los Altos High School. So the courses at Los Altos High School are designed to handle the English language learners levels 1 to wherever you are, whereas it seems rather unfair that the students at Mountain View High School are missing out on a year of school, I mean coursework, that they could, you know, develop other interests or actually have A through G courses, which was the floor, which was what the recommendation was at the Family Partnership Council. And you can see there's tabs because there's other concerns. I was just going to bring up one example of some of these concerns I have. Okay, thanks for the opportunity to speak.
Thank you. So that moves us to consolidated motion.
I move we accept the consolidated motion items 15.1 to 15. Wait, however many there are. I'm finding the number. 12. As stated.
Second.
Moved by Kathy, seconded by Theta. Student board members?
I approve.
Pepper.
Thank you. And then board members?
Aye.
Aye. All right, motion carries 4-0 with 1 absence.
I just want to make one comment after the fact is that both of our robotics teams are going somewhere fun, according to this, to a conference of some kind. Los Altos has gone those places before, I guess, but Mountain View is also going someplace for their robotics competition this year too. So it'll be great.
And I just wanted to thank Dr. Meyer and her team for the animal policy. The law around service animals is complicated, and I really appreciate them working with me to make sure that we're following the Americans with Disability Act. So thank you very much.
Thank you. All right, on to business items. We start with the middle college and college now.
Hello, all. Do I have the, we have some slides, yeah? There we go. Okay, so we're going to talk about some big changes happening at Middle College. But before we do that, we kind of want to maybe give you a little refresher about who we are, what we do, what makes our program unique. So we can go to the next slide. So we are an early college high school program. I can do it. Okay, there we go. And our students are dually enrolled. They retain their enrollment at their home high school, Mountain View or Los Altos, but they spend their whole day with us. And they're taking 3 high school courses and between 7 and 11 foothill units. That's typically 2 or 3 courses. Occasionally have a student that might take a little bit more, but for the most part, that's our target, 7 to 11. And then they have 3 high school classes with us. They have their core English, their core social studies, and then a 3rd hour course that we call community. And community is something that's very, very important to us. It's kind of what sets our program apart from other middle college programs, and also maybe a student's experience at their home school. So we start this very early with a very deliberate orientation program. So our students show up 2 weeks before Foothill goes into session, and we do a 2-week orientation. Actually, before that, we do a summer trip to Yosemite for 4 days, where we do start that kind of team building. And then during that orientation before Foothill starts, we take field trips. We take the students to the city and paint a mural. We go to Half Moon Bay and do some beach cleanup. And the whole idea is getting these students to feel a part of our program, to feel a part of this community. And that pays dividends for the rest of the year. Also, we have small dialogue-based courses. So it's a discussion-based classroom. We have approximately 25 to 27 students in each class, and really focused on kind of a seminar-style discussion-based curriculum. And then the 4 staff members, teachers, we act as teachers and advisors to the students. So we get to know them not just in the classroom, but we get to know their academic history. We advise them on their college planning. And so the relationship that they have with us is very, very different than they would have with a traditional high school teacher, because we have the time that we can spend with them. And then the 3rd hour that we spoke about, or that I spoke about, that is a non-academic hour that is focused on fostering that community that we started at the beginning of the year and carrying it through. And so every day of the week, that looks a little bit different. One day a week, we're usually conferencing with students. One day a week, we run what we call a flex day. Some days it's a study hall. Some days it's a foothill event. Because we're on the campus, we try to avail ourselves of all of these things that Foothill has to offer, guest speakers. And I guess it was last week, we went to the Ethnic Studies Summit and saw some great speakers. And then we have 1 day a week that we dedicate to games. So we have it's a game day. So we play board games, and we're just trying to foster that community. So it's really this is kind of in a nutshell what we do, and the idea is that we're focused on developing that community. So Marciano's going to come up and talk about a few of the new things we've got on the agenda.
I was fooled by the consolidated agenda list. I thought it was going to take quite a bit, and I was wrong. So forgive my tardiness. So we can go to the next slide. Or I can do it. I can go to the next slide. So quite a few things have changed since we've last talked. So Foothill is back. There is a vibe on campus that did not exist before because there's actually people on campus. All right, who would have thought? Middle College has a new office space thanks to the hard work of people, the team from Mountain View Los Altos, and the board members for your continued support. So we have a hub at Foothill that is worthy of our students. It's a place where we work all together, but also is a place for students to come and relax and play games with one another and study with one another. And so it really is a hub for Middle College, and we're really happy and really excited by offering that we can offer this space to students. Thriving college students, because Foothill is back, the clubs are back. The activities are back. The speakers are there. So our students are involved in a number of activities. You heard about the Innovation Business Challenge that some of our students participate in. A number of our students are in the Rocket Club, for example. And it's really fantastic to have our students not only be high school students on campus, but actually be involved in the college life. You may have heard that Palo Alto is creating their own middle college program. And Palo Alto has decided to do that for a variety of reasons, but it actually created an opportunity for us. And the opportunity is that we can serve more MVLA students. So we did heavy recruitment. We were in more newsletters and email chains than we could have asked for. And newspaper articles in the Talon and in the the Los Altos Town Crier. So we really amped up our recruitment efforts. We're on campus more than I think we ever were before. And something surprising happened. You're a data person, Phil, so you're going to appreciate this. We did not get our normal sort of student applicant profile of equal number of juniors, or certain number of juniors and a certain number of seniors. And partly that may have been because of the way that we recruited. We communicated that we had more space in middle college, but not necessarily in which grade level. And what we found is that there were many more senior applicants, rising senior applicants than junior applicants. So in true middle college fashion, what do? We adapt. And we've decided, with the advice and counsel of individuals, leadership in the district, that we're going to change our model at least for next year, and that we will have 3 senior classes and 1 junior class because the demand was so overwhelming. And so that's something that's going to be different for us. And as we are involved in planning and that sort of orientation and developing that community, we are going to bring students, one, who are older, on average, that are bringing a certain level of experience that maybe they wouldn't have as juniors, and really trying to develop that community amongst Mountain View Los Altos students, but with a slightly different grade profile. Something else that's new in our district, or rather at our site, is that we have a different sort of wellness approach and a wellness model. So traditionally, we've used CHAC. This year, we were actually able to partner with Pacific Clinics, and there are now 2 practitioners on campus, both great individuals, but with different sort of personalities. So whereas there may have been only 1 individual available, our students can take advantage of an individual that might mesh with them. So many of our students come to us because things weren't working at their home high school campus. Sometimes wellness is a component of that. And so to offer these really robust services on campus has been a boon for our students.
Okay, talk a little bit about what's next. So some activities that we have coming up. We are having an open mic sometime next month, which is kind of an informal talent show. Our kids like to participate in those things. We are also taking a group of students to the city, to the Commonwealth Club. We were invited to do a meet and greet with Ali Velshi from MSNBC. So we're going to take 20 to 25 students up in May. We've got a prom that's coming up on May 10th. The middle college proms are always a little different, but great. And so that's on May 10th. We're busily planning the yearbook, and then we're starting to plan for our Yosemite trip for 2024. The Yosemite trip has become, well, I guess over the last 10 or 12 years, it's become an integral part of the kickoff to the year. I would say 80% of our new students participate in the trip, and we have a handful of students that go for a second year. And it's really on that trip where we begin this community building and these connections. So a new composition, more MVLA students, but the same family feel. And so we're very happy moving forward. So I'm going to turn it over to Gary from College Now.
Good evening, board members. I'm Gary McHenry, the advisor for the College Now program. I've been with the program since its inception, which started in 2018. As with middle college, College Now is an early college high school program. The difference, though, is that with the College Now program, basically, students have all the rights and privileges of their high school and all the rights and privileges of a community college students, except if they want to play athletics, They have to play for their high school team as opposed to the college team. For next year, we accept about 40 students a year. This year, we have 37 students. In years past, most of the students are from Los Altos as opposed to Mountain View. But this year, the number of students, the Mountain View students exceed the Los Altos students in terms of the actual numbers. In terms of next year, there are 13 juniors who will be moving into their senior year. So we're starting the program with 13 students. Out of those 13 students, 3 of the students are from the Palo Alto Unified School District. We had 24 applicants for next year. As you can see, we had 15 senior applicants and 9 juniors. And what seems to be happening is that a sizable number of students want to enter the program their senior year because they have pretty much exhausted all of the honors and AP courses at the high school. And so they want the opportunity to take more math, more science, the variety of different offers in fine arts, music, things like that. So we hope to get to about 35 students this year. And that's been kind of the average of the last 5 years. We accept 40, but we've never had 40. I think the highest year we had 38. And we think that we'll get to about 35 this year because we're still accepting juniors. And right now, in terms of students that have been accepted, out of the 24 that applied, 2 students were accepted and withdrew. 11 other students have accepted, and there are 6 more students to interview for the fall cohort of students. So I'll just stop there, and if you have some questions, I'll be glad to answer them.
We're happy to take any questions you may have as well.
I'll start. For one, your so-called community class, I mean, you're calling it the community class, or how does that count in terms of graduation requirements and stuff? A general electric, okay, I'm just curious. And then Pacific Clinics, is that about the same price as CHAC was, or it's completely different situation, or are they full-time or half-time, these 2 people, et cetera?
So these individuals, that we have a practitioner on campus every day. But both of those individuals are not full-time, however, they're available. Someone's available for every hour that a student's on campus with us. In terms of price, I'm going to leave it to my expert here, Mike Matheson, or someone else, because I'm not quite sure.
It is this year equivalent of what CHAC.
And it's going to be that way next year too, or?
Catherine, can I interrupt here?
Yeah.
So there are lots of developments with chat.
Yeah. I know, that's not the question I have, though. I just was wondering about the cost, not.
Well,
Yeah.
CHAC won't be competing with Pacific Clinics because Pacific Clinics is planning to merge with CHAC.
Okay.
So that will eliminate the question of price comparison.
Well,
there are other agencies that provide.
Yeah, well, so my question is, are we still having a cost-effective situation no matter who we're going through? And we can afford it and all that, right? You guys? All right.
I can actually perhaps gather up some analysis on that and send that to the board if that would be helpful.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And then the college now question I have is, so Gary, you're full-time?
No.
No, you're, I thought you were
I've been
part-time.
retired for
Okay,
12
so you're
years.
part-time. Yeah, so you're part-time.
Oh, definitely.
Part-time. Okay, so you're part-time, and they think that they've exhausted all the AP and high school classes they could take, some of these students. That's interesting. That's just a point of interest is.
Well, those that are interested.
Yeah. Okay, those were really the only questions I had.
Okay.
So I just want to add something here. I'm the only old timer here who knows Gary McHenry from when he was a principal at Los Altos High School. And Gary went on to become superintendent at Fresno, I believe. Is that right?
Well, I was in Stockton, Mount Diablo, and Inglewood.
Yeah. So a very long and distinguished academic career that he was full-time. And I think he's doing us a great service, taking over our College Now program in his quote, retirement.
I failed retirement.
Thanks for that. Okay.
Any other questions?
Yes, I had a question for middle college, which is with your new expansion, how many applied and how many can you accept?
So in terms of the numbers, so just a little bit about the format. Current juniors will become seniors next year. So essentially a class full of juniors in the agency cohort and a class full of juniors in the understanding cohort will both rise to become rising seniors in the program. So that takes essentially 50 spots.
Right.
We have enough senior applicants to pretty much fill the third senior class. And for the juniors, we just sent out acceptances to 24 juniors with more applications coming in. So we will have full classes. Alicia and I will be the junior teachers and one senior class, the juniors we currently have. We expect that our junior class is going to be slightly larger because we're the only place that juniors could go. And so we generally like to keep the classes because a number of our students are some of them, a certain profile of students are students in need. And so smaller class sizes has allowed us to really meet their needs and work with them closely. But we anticipate that we're probably going to have between 25 and 30 juniors in that junior class. Every year we do a round of applications where the bulk of our applicants come. But over summer, when students realized that maybe they needed a change from the traditional high school, maybe there was an experience, or maybe someone's coming into district, that's when we'll get another round of applications. And so we have some room in the senior class, we'll have some room in the junior class as well. But we accept applications on a rolling basis technically, and that we're not going to turn away an application and not read it. But that first round of reviews has happened, and we'll have another round pretty soon. I'm coming this summer.
So in terms of reviewing applications, obviously it's an art and not a science, but what sort of factors are you looking for in an application?
So we're looking for a match between what a student is looking for and what we offer. That's the first thing we're looking for. Why is this student want to leave Los Altos or Mountain View, and what are they seeking? Is that something that we can get right? We also look at need, like, how strong is this student's need to make a transition, right? Some students just think, hey, it'd be kind of cool to take college classes. And then their other kids are like, I'm really suffering in this environment and I need a change. So we take those into consideration. Thankfully, this year we were able to offer the vast majority of students a space. But hasn't always been the case.
Sometimes we'll get applicants that speak to the need of taking college classes, and that's it. They speak in their application, I really want to take college classes, I'm really into science, really into this topic, and I think Foothill will afford that. For us, that we focus on the community in addition to those college courses. Sometimes we might actually send that student to Gary or send that application to Gary because they might be a better fit there. There's been an occasion when Gary's seen applications, he might say, hey, this is actually a middle college student.
Thank you. That was very important.
Go ahead.
Just that. So I think both of you, or all three of you, have programs that really fit our definition of equity, which is to give to each student what that student needs to develop to the fullest their academic and social potential. And you're one of the reasons that when I run into people and I tell them I live in the MVLA district, they say, wow, I heard that that's a great place to send the student to school. I wish my kid could go there. And I say, I'm sorry, I can't help you.
Yeah, we're so proud of both programs. We are. And then you add in the option B that we still offer for students that want to be online in high school, and that's completely A to G and graduation eligible and so on. And then our CTE, I mean, we really have almost something for everyone.
Yeah, and it's thanks to a board like this that supports these alternative programs.
I just wanted to say thank you very much, and especially coming out of retirement to work
For 12 years.
There's a part of the Godfather movie where he says they pull me back in. That
Yeah. And
is,
also, I really, I wanted to also say, like, I went to your middle college open house,
Yes.
and I felt the sense of community there. I saw the kids hanging out, and they just seemed really comfortable in their lives, and were chatting with the teachers, and that's what you want for every student. So thank you very much.
Well, thank you. We appreciate it, folks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
What's next? We have a revision to board policy.
Okay, what we're bringing forward is a revision to the board policy regarding the differential graduation and competency standards for students with disabilities. This will bring our current policy up to Ed code, and so it is really ensuring that we're following the law. So we're recommending that we make this adjustment.
Discussion.
I motion that we approve item 17.2, revision to board policy 6.4 differential graduation and competency standards for students with disabilities.
I second that.
Moved by Theta, seconded by Catherine. Student board members.
I approve.
Thank you, Sadie.
I approve.
Thank you, Krista.
I printed mine out as extended, so I think I have the regular one right here.
Do you have it? Do I have more than one?
So I think we've moved.
And seconded.
Oh, okay. So now all board members in favor?
Well, they're looking it up what they're supposed
No,
to be.
these are just these are the policies, which is good.
Let me ask
But if
again.
they wanted,
Board. student
Yes,
board
now I
members?
definitely approve.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you, Sadie. Krista? Thank you. Board members, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, motion carries 4-0 with one absence. 17.3, the adult school calendar for 2024-2025.
yes, this is our annual, hopefully approval of the adult education program calendar for 24-25. And all of the information is attached, and we are recommending approval.
Any questions or discussion?
I move that we approve the adult school calendar as presented.
Second motion.
Thank you. Moved by Catherine, seconded by Phil. Student board members.
I approve.
I approve.
Thank you. Board members, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, motion carries 4-0. Takes us to, is it our last one? Oh, no, our last one, but school safety plans, our first reading.
Yes, what you have before you are the student safety plans for our campuses. And this is a first reading, and I just of note, the site leaders worked very hard at making this much more comprehensive than we've had in past years. So I just want to acknowledge the hard work that went into that, and to just share that this includes both mental wellness as well as the plans for evacuation and physical safety. And that, please, in the next weeks prior to the next board meeting, or certainly now, if you have any questions or comments where you see we need to improve upon these plans, please let us know.
I have a couple things to say. One is I really appreciate the more robust approach with both mental and physical safety and health that the schools have put into it. One is I'd like to see where if there is one, or we should write one, a district office safety plan. And then also, how do they handle like middle college and college now, or is that under the umbrella of what Foothill does since it's housed there? And yeah, and then some of the things, I have a lot of training in the background about incident command and so on. And a lot of times you would have in the actual plan a position like dash associate superintendent for HR, dash CBO. And then you would have an appendix or whatever that said who that was right now. But what if you're all what if Mike is at a conference the week that there's the disaster and it says Mike Matheson's in charge? Well, he can't be because he's not even here. So usually in a lot of plans, other kinds of plans I've seen, it says the position in the main document and then has a chart of who fills that position, usually on a, and it also actually helps you from year to year not have to update it as much either, in a way, because you have to update the appendix, but you don't have to update the main part if you keep it the same. Like if it's always the assistant principal in charge of, I don't know, facilities or something, then whoever that is that year, and even if you swap them around per year at the campus, whoever is now in that new role does that kind of thing. So that's the only kind of general comment I'd make, and then I'd like to read it all a little bit more carefully. And I just, certain parts of it I just adore.
And you're correct that any campus on another site like Foothill, they are under the umbrella of that particular campus and their safety plan.
Yeah.
And we do have a district office evacuation physical safety plan, but it's not necessarily in these documents. And so we'll talk about that and as we look to bring this back for a second reading. And then lastly, yes, we do have the titles, but what I'm hearing also is the need for perhaps a backup in case of absence, as well as a separate list of those who are occupying those roles.
Yeah. And then what is the adult school do?
They have their own plan.
You have your own, but they're not,
Yes.
It's not in this group to be reviewed.
No, they
Right
have
now.
actually different guidelines as well too on approval.
Yeah, so do we ever approve that? I mean, we must eventually approve the adult school one too,
Maybe that's something we can bring back
but just
to
not
them
on the
to
same
show.
cycle.
Yeah, the requirements are different.
Yeah, they're
for the
different. So
K-12.
I just don't remember when we approved that compared to the,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. So I just don't remember when we, or if we approved the adult one in addition to these ones from the K-12s. Just curious.
It's usually another, it's not separate.
Yeah. That was my only comments. So we're totally comprehensive, our whole district and everybody in it.
I just wanted to say, I really appreciate the expansion of safety to include emotional safety, because I think that is equally important to our students, and it's something that sometimes gets overlooked. But we do have students who come to me and say, I don't feel safe, and what they actually mean is, I don't feel emotionally safe. It's not that an earthquake is happening.
Mm-hmm.
So I think having that explicitly in the safety plan, I think hopefully we won't have, but I mean, a safety plan exists to make everyone safe, so.
And much more often, that is the case.
More of the case, yeah.
Okay.
That moves us into 17.5, a resolution.
And this is a business item as it is a resolution. And what you see within the writing is just the adjustment up of the residential and commercial industrial redeveloper fees, and also the apportionment that MVLA would receive.
I move adoption of resolution 23/24-46 and waive reading.
I second.
I moved by Phil, seconded by Catherine. Student board members. You will.
I approve.
Thank you, Sammy.
I approve.
Thank you, Gustav. All board members, please indicate.
Aye.
Motion carries 4-0.
And my understanding, just as a comment, is that we always raise them to the highest we can.
Correct.
So.
They tell us how high we
We
can
say
raise
how
them,
high
and we
you can
say,
go, and we
yes,
say,
thank
we'll
you.
take it. We'll take everything we can get.
Add to that, even though we raise it to the highest, it's still inadequate.
No,
Right, it's
definitely
still,
in-
you can see it's pennies.
Definitely inadequate.
There's a justification study that shows really the amount should be higher, but we raise it to the highest that the state allocation board
Yes,
allows us.
exactly.
Yes, got it. All right. Well, good evening. We're at the point of the meeting where we're going to review the second interim budget report, which will look similar to prior budget reports in format. Even substance might look similar to the first interim budget report, and that's just because of the positive financial situation the district is in. Wait a little bit until do we have a slide deck to put up? Okay, all right. Can I give you one? Let me see. So there we go. Let's just go with that one because that should look right. Thank you. All right. So with that, we'll get back into it. You know, in the business department, business services and budget world, we really we support the goals of the district and student achievement, which has been highlighted prior tonight with Students of the Month and our middle college program and College Now and all those wonderful things. And so being fiscally responsible and budgeting to support all those wonderful things is the key thing of what we do, and the budget reflects that. So I don't think, well, I'm gonna be able to click with this, so we'll just scroll. Just a reminder where we are in this annual budget cycle. So we are in the second interim report. So the next time we'll see you actually is to adopt the budget for next year, and then we'll overlap and provide the year-end financials in September. But this is kind of the last look before the sprint to the end of the year. You know, trustee mentioned it's spring. There's a lot of activities going on. The same thing in the budget world. So the overview of the budget is where I will turn it over to our fiscal director, Elvis Lopez, to walk you through comparison first, second interim. Again, this is going to be a high level, 30,000 foot view of where we are at this point of the year, but it is a strong financial position. You'll see later the recommendation is to approve positive certification, which means the district is able to meet its financial obligations both current year and the future 2 years. And with that, I'll turn it over to Elvis to walk through just the high-level numbers of the current report.
So you'll see on the left side, the first interim is kind of where we're at a few months ago. A little bit less revenues, less expenditures, and our OPEB is the same. That's our actuarial report that we get once a year. And our fund balance decrease. Again, this is the high level. This is all restricted and unrestricted accounts combined together. As the second interim, we actually went up on some of few items, which I'll go more in detail on the next slides. On revenue, about $1 million. Again, also with some more staffing and some other things happening, expenditures went up as well. So this is the high level view of it. This is kind of more what's restricted and unrestricted. So unrestricted is taxpayer dollars, everything that we get. Unrestricted, there's more strings attached to it where it could be one-time funds that we get from the state. As you can tell, a lot of the restricted in contribution comes from unrestricted, restricted, as we try to balance the budget, as we don't always get enough money to cover the programs that we have on the restricted side. Again, next slide, Paul. Unrestricted balance increased by almost $1 million as a second interim from our projections. And restricted side decrease, again, this is all one-time dollars we're trying to spend out. that we have, I think, 3 more years to spend COVID funds and other items as well. Again, this is one-time money that we're spending down. So as you can tell, beginning balances on one side goes up restricted side goes down because we're spending the dollars amount down. It's like, this is kind of the big ticket items that kind of happened. We Shoreline actually renegotiated our JPA from Maui Wisman, so we got a little bit more, $500,000 or more. Interest rate actually is going up for us. It went up to 3.5, I want to say right now. Last year it was almost at 2, so it's been going up more every year. So we had $450,000 more in revenues. Additional 209. This is for the MOUs that we have at Palo Alto. We have more students at Alta Vista, so we actually charge. They have 4 seats, so if they have more students, we charge them for additional seats additionally. The bottom is staffing adjustments and benefit reconciliation, $500,000. Again, this is some people going up, hiring back in, people who didn't have benefits, became 8 hours, we took benefits. So this is all combined together with extra hours, new employees, people taking benefits and everything else.
And just to highlight that a little bit specifically, we had an initiative with our CSCA labor partners about taking a lot of employees that are 6 hours, taking them to full-time 8 hours. So when we talk about adjusting those hours, specifically, there's a large classification of employees, both serving and supporting special ed students as well as our EL students who increased hours. That's additional salary, additional statutory benefits that go with that. Some of them were already taking medical benefits and paying a prorated portion. Some were not taking benefits and now as full-time are eligible. So we knew that going in. We knew there'd be a cost increase, but there was value to having those employees around full-time, especially with our varied bell schedule every day. And it was hard to match in an hourly work environment, those bell schedules. And so you'll see some of those folks doing different tasks when students are not there to support the needs of the school, as well as supporting students who are often there after school as well. And then there are also mid-year adjustments. People go on leave. We need to fill in a spot. We're paying for that person on leave because of the labor laws that in accrued sick leave, where they're getting full pay, and then we're bringing in somebody to fill their position. So that's quite a bit when you see a second interim with some of that turnover or addition of staff through the middle of the year. So thanks, Elvis, for letting me interrupt. We'll talk about reserve levels next.
Reserve levels, we met our 3%, actually matches. Our current is 17 million. Our target is 23. That's at 17%. That's the only one we're not. The target has not been met. OPEB, we're actually exceeding it. We have 6.393, and then target is 3.2. This is all based on our actuarial numbers that we get on the OPEB cost.
So part of the second in our budget report is looking ahead to the future, as any responsible budget department would do. So this year is looking good. Again, when you group everything together, you're like, oh, there's a negative number. What's going on? Well, as Elvis mentioned, most of that deficit spending is on the restricted side. You started with money in the bank. You're spending that down, and we have a few more years to spend some of that state one-time money in the form of educator effectiveness grant, some lingering COVID money as well. So looking ahead to the future 2 years.
May I ask one quick question on those one-time monies? You have a nice, I would hope, master calendar of when the different monies have to be spent by, so we don't miss any deadlines, because that would be too bad to give the money back without using it.
Yes, we do.
We have a map. Go ahead, Elvis.
Yes, we have a plan, and the calendar. What we try to do is try to have it spent by year before, so that we don't have to worry about what are we doing to send the money back. So we always have a plan of having that all spent down the year before. If not, then we have some residual, then we can spend it the year, but we want to make sure we have the most spent by the last year of each fund.
Good idea.
So for example, there's a few quarterly reports, especially the federal funds that we got, for which we don't need to report anything because we spent those dollars down, yet we still get the reminders every quarter about, oh, this report's due, this grant report's due. These funds, sometimes at the state level, they've even changed how much the money's already given to us, but the state will say, oh, more of that was federal than before because the state, moved around some money. So we have it. Elvis has monthly meetings at the county office level with all the other fiscal directors in the county, and they review those deadlines and calendars and what's due. It happens at my CBO level meeting. So great question. And yeah, we want to make sure we spend all those dollars. And we even do a lot of reconciliation with the different departments and school sites, looking at, here's an expense. Hey, this is an appropriate expense to use those restricted funds that have a deadline. So we might shift what we charge that to in order to draw down those funds by that deadline as well. Looking ahead in the out 2 years, this is a lot of numbers. Revenue increases, expenditures increase as well. On the unrestricted side, there's some one-time expenditures in the current year, which makes the change from current year to next year actually look like a slight decrease in expenditures. But in terms of staff and continuity and kind of our ongoing costs, those go through those future years. We see I'll get to the assumptions slide in a moment. You'll see a slight enrollment decline. That's based upon our demographic projection that is aging. So we're about in the last couple of years of that. But actually, when you track in the fuller budget document, there's a track of actual enrollment. And that actually, the trend and the shape of that graph tracks pretty well to what was projected. So it's flat. We're working with Ed Services to look at enrollment projections for next year. That's always slightly changing number because we have 8th grade enrollment, we have private school enrollment, we have students that enroll because they're enrolling in our local public schools, but maybe applying a private school and then get an acceptance letter, but don't tell us, or vice versa, or don't get in, and so enroll with us. But some of that enrollment change impacts the staffing we need, but on the whole, it's pretty flat. I mean, it's an actual decrease in raw numbers, but when you look at it, it's, on 4,400 students, it's not a significant change year to year. And because we're also community funded, the funding doesn't come per student, doesn't go up or down based on enrollment like state funded schools. So that's a different attribute of being a community funded district. I think the takeaway from this slide is looking at the fund balance or the annual surplus or deficit. Each of those years shows a surplus in those future years. And if we can scroll down to the next slide, you'll see what's that based on. We'll see the enrollment we already mentioned. Secured property tax growth, that's really probably the most important assumption we have in the multi-year projection, because that's the main driver of our overall district revenue, being a community funded district. We're at 6.57 this year. Next year, we're projecting 5, as well as 5 in the outer year. We get monthly reports from the county assessor's office. I was in an in-person meeting last month. The actual assessor, Larry Stone, made an appearance and gave a speech to us. So we get updates on what's going on countywide, but really the story is what's going on in Mountain View, Los Altos, and Los Altos Hills, because that's the driver for us. And so we look at 5%. I was discussing with Elvis the other day. We feel very confident in that number for next year. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised if it slightly exceeds that, but confident in putting down 5% as that budget number, because we get monthly reports of what the gross role is for the assessed valuation. And we look at that trend, and we have historical data that helps us look at past years and where we ended up. So there's high confidence in those numbers at the moment. CalSTRS and CalPERS are large percentages that go into our people cost. The good news, at least with CalSTRS, is that it's flat, so it doesn't change year to year, even though it's high at 19.1. CalPERS is subject to change year to year, and so you do see slight increases in that retirement pension plan. So where do we go from here? Well, assuming we approve the second interim budget report tonight, like we just mentioned, we monitor property tax growth projections, the state budget proposals. The governor came out with his budget proposal in January with much fanfare, much disagreement with the legislative analyst office in terms of the size of the shortfall. So I know his State of the State address was supposed to happen today. That got postponed. So there's a lot more to come in terms of what the state budget's going to look like. The May revision is the next, as it states, the revision of his budget. Good news, bad news is state budget affects us in terms of what state money we get. Being a community funded, we are buffered a little bit more than state funded districts on what happens at the state level, but there is always an impact to us. So we'll monitor that. We're going to continue to meet, as we always do, with our association groups and negotiations. Salary compensation is not a part of this year because we're in year 3 of a 3-year agreement on salary. But that means next year we'll be back discussing that in terms of what the impact is on the budget. And then we start to work on budget for next year. We've already had a kickoff meeting with the County Office of Ed, Terry Fott and Elvis and I for LCAP and budget, and those go hand in hand. So we're already looking ahead to the next year for that. And with that, it's just a cheat sheet for how to read all those accounting forms, and a big thanks to Business Services Department and the team we have there. With that, take any other comments or questions, and then leave it to you guys. Yes.
Well, thank you for your all fun sheet right away. This is what I always ask for the minute I see anything budget on the thing. So got ahead of me this time. That's good. Let's see, I'm trying to think how to phrase this. Are any new hires that we get, for instance, in certificated, do they start at the bottom of our salary range for their education and everything, or do they get free credit for wherever they worked before? Some districts do it one way and some people do it the other, and I didn't remember which way we do it.
They get credit up to 12 years of service.
Previous service.
So that means they would start at step 13. That would be the highest they could start on our salary schedule.
Up
And that
to
is outlined
12
in the
years.
contract.
Okay. In their contract. When
In
they
the
sign it up.
contract with DTA.
Oh, with DTA, okay.
But if they
I
come in
forgot.
with 4 years, then they get 4 years of credit, and they start at step 5 for us. Yep.
Okay, and then is that applicable to classified too? How does classified work?
It's not quite years of service, but let's get a little of the microphone. Were you about? No, okay. I mean, there's different ranges on the classified salary schedule. It's not necessarily equated to years of service.
Right.
So if they're coming from outside, sometimes we look, and this is where HR will look at the prior employment and evaluate, if they've been in that role before. Sometimes they've been in a different position within the classified world, so that doesn't relate.
Okay. Okay, I just was trying to remember all those details.
Yeah, the classified salary schedule has a lot of ranges, which tie to different positions, but there's about 5 steps. Currently 5 steps, where you would go up every year, equivalent to a teacher year of service. But teachers have about 29 steps.
29. I've read that somewhere before, but I didn't remember these kind of details. Yeah.
So I had a question about special education. Obviously, it's an unfunded mandate, but we want our students to get what they need. But I noticed that it was actually flat from the 2 years. Has it been flat historically?
When you're referencing flat, are you?
You go back.
You go back to it's the assumptions. Yeah, stop right there. Yeah.
So there wasn't an increase?
So let me clarify what that row means. So that actually indicates, so in the future years, what we're assuming is all the people, we can project those costs as they increase in a step on the salary schedule, their salary goes up, benefits, all those automatically roll over. This is actually an additional, it's an increase every year. We build in a $400,000 for non-salary, non-people costs in special education. So it's actually an increase of $400,000 every year.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. And where that comes from is sometimes there's unanticipated, the students come to the district and have certain needs that we need to, we're of course going to serve, but what that looks like depends on the student who's coming to our district.
Yeah, and we're required to do that, and we should be doing that.
Yeah, I'll give a good shout out to Nina and the special ed department. They've really reviewed that, looked at that. How can we serve students maybe in-house, the programs that maybe we could create on our campuses? How can we, serve those students as we should, and just beyond it being our obligation, but what can we do to contain some of those costs? And so when we actually look at special ed as a whole and look at what we were projecting and where some of those costs are coming in, we do see a refinement and a tightening of that, which is a positive sign. Yeah.
So you say non-salary, but it could end up being salary. For instance, if a student comes in and has to have their own private nurse or something.
It could be.
But it would mostly
be contract.
What this means in
Yeah.
the budget world is, the costs that are associated with salaries and benefits, we pull from our HR database.
Yeah, okay.
And there's salary schedules tied to all that, so it's just a computation in the
Yeah,
background.
okay.
Yeah, I think a lot of that is assessments, which are often contracted.
Sometimes it might be just
Yeah.
a contractor coming in, it might be a placement outside of the school district, it might be
Yeah.
additional supports for students, equipment, transportation costs.
Okay, thank you.
Well, I move that the board certify the district will be able to meet the financial obligations for the 23-24 fiscal year and adopt resolution 160. Number, that's the number, 23/24-45, budget revisions.
Moved by Catherine, seconded by Phil. Student board members.
I approve.
I approve. Sadie. Board members, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes 4-0.
Thank you all.
Thank you. That takes us to board operations. Any communications, correspondence? None at this time. Our next board meeting is Monday, April 15th.
Tax day.
Tax day. Yes.
So,
And it's our first day back. after Spring break, yeah.
How convenient that the district gave us a whole week to do our taxes before our meeting.
Great.
So I just wanted to ask a question before we adjourn, which is, just, I'd like to hear from the special ed department. We have some questions from them, so I'd like to hear from them before, the academic year is over, if possible.
As a future, possible
Yes.
future board item?
Yes.
Okay.
But if it could be, if that works, to have it before the academic year is over. Well, yes, that's true.
Anything specific, or would you like to
Well,
speak later?
so we had talked specifically about metrics to understand, inclusion rates and disproportionality. What I care about is equity and that our students are getting what they need. So my question is, are we in fact doing that? And I think the data hopefully will show that we are doing that. If not, then what we need to do as a board to make sure that our students are included and receiving a free and appropriate education, which includes being in a regular classroom as much as their needs allow. But also the understanding that for some students, their social and disability needs require them to be in a special day class.
So an analysis of restricted environment, inclusion
Yes.
rate, and disproportionality.
Yes.
Okay.
I move we adjourn.
Have a second? Thank you. Moved by Catherine, seconded by Phil. Student board members.